Welcome to our latest webinar, Developing Assessment for Learning Using LRS. On screen now, you will see what we intend to cover in this session. As always with Active Inspire, we will be showing you extra tips and tricks as we provide examples for the classroom. So make sure to watch the recording right till the end in order to find out where you can go to get support and how to create pages like this yourself. Now, you're likely watching this webinar because you have a Promethean LRS system, but I don't want to make assumptions, so I'm going to take a minute to introduce exactly what we're speaking about today. What is LRS? LRS stands for Learner Response System. A Promethean Learner Response System consists of a computer with Active Inspire, voting devices, and an active hub. Every classroom is different, and Promethean recognize this and therefore have a variety of devices on offer. Our first devices in the Learner Response family are ActiveVote. This was the original ActiveVote here. It also came in blue and yellow color with lowercase letters. And we now have our latest ActiveVote kit. Now this ActiveVote also comes in colored lowercase for younger learners. These devices communicate with the physical Active Hub. This is plugged into the USB port on your computer, and it provides the communication between the devices and your Active Inspire software. ActiveVote allows for simple questioning, multiple choice with a single answer, true, false, or yes, no. Now, I don't want to put these devices down because these are actually very powerful devices put in the right teacher's hands. And there are some fantastic ideas of how these are being used to support assessment for learning, getting pupils discussing. So if you want to find out more, I suggest that you have a look on our website to see some great uses of these devices. The next devices in our Learner Response family are Active Expression devices. This was the original device. We've now moved on to version 2, Active Expression 2. So you can see it's got a wider screen. The screen is also backlit, making the information easier to be seen by your learners, and it is also a QWERTY keyboard. We also have the next addition to the LRS family, which is Active Engage. Now, Active Engage is a virtual version of Active Expression that works on a laptop or desktop computer, and we also have an app for Android, iOS, and Windows as well, Windows platforms as well. Once we added the Active Expression and the Active Engage, it increased the type of questioning that are available to us. So with these devices, we can now ask our learners to sort in order. We can use confidence and agreement scales, or we can create our own Likert scales. We also offer numeric input, alphanumeric text input, and self-paced functionality. And I'm going to talk about a few of these ones as we progress through this webinar. So basically, we have a range of devices that allow the teacher to hear the voice of all of the students in the class. All of the learners can have their device. The teacher can ask a question or put up a point of discussion and then make sure that everybody in her class is involved and is able to give an answer. So, how can these devices support assessment for learning in the classroom? Well, any device is only as good as the person using it. Therefore, apart from learning a bit about how to set up the question pages and a little bit about how the system actually works, all you need to do is what you're already doing. LRS doesn't replace good teaching. It can be used to enhance it. LRS helps to make the formative assessment side of assessment for learning easier. I'm now going to show how these devices support assessment for learning and formative assessment by helping to maintain pupil attention by keeping the pace of the lesson moving, by demonstrating how all learners can be involved, but protecting their autonomy by providing constructive feedback without making them feel that they're being compared to others, to give you an idea of how LRS is used to assess relevancy and understanding at any point in the lesson, and how all of this data is recorded for evidence of understanding and progression. For my example, I'm going to talk about how the devices could be used to help introduce a new topic or lesson. As it's very difficult in the WebEx context to show you the devices working, I have created a little video that I'm going to play and talk over as appropriate. I may need to do a little bit of starting and stopping, so just bear with me as you're watching this recording. Introducing my lesson, I'm going to start with a question. So I've just removed that black box to reveal a photo. I want my class to have a look at it, and I want to know if they know where or what this building is. And instead of shouting out an answer, I want them to use their devices to text in their answer if they know. In this case, all the pupils have an active expression handset, and they have been registered and displayed in names mode. So you can see all the names at the top. The question has been preset to the page, so all I need to do is click the green play button and the question starts. As pupils send in their answers, you will notice that their names are highlighted in yellow. As I just wanted a quick answer here, and I'm not even worried if everybody gives me an answer, I have set a timer on the page, and as it counts down to the end, the question will automatically stop when the time is up. I'll then be presented with the choice to let those who haven't answered answer. I'm going to choose no in this case, and then we see that our results are shown. Now from this, I can see that 3 of my learners answered this question. 2 of them suggested the answer was Edinburgh, and 1 of them came up with Edinburgh Zoo. So we could then identify that actually, yes, this is a picture of the entrance of Edinburgh Zoo. And we could start to carry on a discussion with our class. So although these devices are integral to the lesson, not all of the questioning, not all of the discussion needs to make use of them. So in this case, we would just want to start a candid conversation with each other in pairs and groups with the whole class about the idea of a zoo and what happens at a zoo, if they've been to a zoo before, what their experiences of it. So basically, I'm trying to assess the knowledge, the previous knowledge that they're bringing to this lesson. The software allows me to follow any preset question with a follow-on Likert question. I'm just going to close down, as you'll see in the video, those answers. And then I want to start another question. So I'm just going to click on that orange button there once I reveal my next picture. And this time I'm going to ask, how does this picture make them feel? Active Inspire comes with standard confidence and agreement scales, but also allow me to create my own, which I've done here. When I click on the orange arrow, as you saw, then the options come up, and my learners can choose which one is relevant to them. And again, once that's finished, it comes up with my answers there. From now on, I want the class's answers to be anonymous. It's not about who said what, but rather getting an honest idea of how they feel. In the voting browser, in my browser window, I can quickly toggle between named mode and anonymous mode without having to stop the lesson. So as you see, I could start out our discussion by having it in named mode, and then as we get into more sensitive information or sensitive ideas, I could toggle that to anonymous mode to give them that more comfort with being able to give an honest answer and not worrying that they might be saying something different than their best friend who's sitting next to them. So now you can see that numbers have replaced the names. Clicking on that again, I toggle back to named mode. Okay, so we're just going to use it in an anonymous mode for now. So turning the page, I could then show them another picture of elephants in captivity. Okay, so this one is slightly different than the last one. So again, we could carry on the conversation about how this one makes them feel. Does it make them feel the same as the other one? Why or why not? Thinking about those 2 photos, I then want them to consider animals' lives in captivity. And then using their device, I want them to tell me if they're for or against the issue. I also want to give them the option at this point that if they're not sure, they would be able to select see. Okay, and I would hope that this is what would change, those of them that are sitting here, that I would definitely have a change and move to either for or against after the topic has progressed. So this page could not only be used at the beginning of a topic like this, but it could be also used at the end to review learning and see whether the opinions and ideas have changed once they're better informed. When a vote has been done on a page, the results are automatically stored in the voting browser under the results browser at the bottom. Here I can find results from all the questions I have currently run. The preset question will appear as the title, and the date and time are also recorded as well as the page number. So you can see here in my browser that I actually did these questions a couple weeks ago when I was developing this flip chart. If the questions have been asked on a page, once I save the flip chart, they'll automatically save with it. To open a set of question results, I just need to select the one that I want. So I'm actually going to choose this one here. How does this picture make you feel? And in fact, I'm going to choose a different one. I want to have this one here. I'm going to view the results. Okay, so we can receive the results of this question set here. What I can then do is, using this little button here, I can paste the results to the page and close that down. So we know where my class stand at the beginning of the discussion. I could put that down there. We could then study the topic, do the research, and come back at the end and do that vote again. And then we can have a great comparison of before and after the discussion to see if ideas have changed, and then talk a little bit about why. One component of assessment for learning is helping pupils to see the relevance of learning. And one way of doing this is to help them identify the learning objectives themselves. So you can see here, all of this discussion we had before was leading them up to where we're actually going with this. So what are we going to be looking at? After an initial discussion about the new topic, but before we delve more deeply into it, I could ask my class to give suggestions as to what they think the learning objectives are. The devices allow text input up to 140 characters, so the same as a tweet on Twitter. And that means that we could get some really good ideas here. So I've just done that in advance, so we can call that up and we can see some other ideas that they put in there. So again, not just having to do one or two words, but actually getting short sentences or short pieces of information in there. What's great about using text results is that I can then do something called word seed, and this allows me to word seed all of those onto my flip chart page. And then we could pick them up, we could move them around, and we could use them for discussion. So we could decide which ones actually fit in with what we're talking about and which ones maybe don't. Now do remember that when you use word seed, it will always use the same color of font that the last text that you were using was set to. So you can see mine came up in yellow there, but I can just change the background there to make that a little bit more easy to see. I could do a similar question set with the ActiveVote devices. In this case, I could get my class to suggest 6 different objective ideas. We could write them on the board, and then we could get the rest of the class involved by sending in A to F to decide which one they think is the most relevant, or which ones they think is the most relevant. So I hope you're starting to see how well LRS fits in with the specifics of assessment for learning. Collaboration and discussion are also key to assessment for learning. This page is an example of how pupils could work together using the devices to complete part of an activity. The idea is for the class to complete the diagram by gathering as much information as possible about the character in question. It could be a character from a story or a play, or it could be a real person. The class could then be divided into 4 groups. We've got different configurations of that I'll show you here. I'll just get rid of that. So the class could be divided into 4 groups and each asked to text words in to complete the different sections. So what they would need to do is first, as a group, discuss what their ideas are. Then they need to decide who in the group is going to send in what answer to avoid repetition. So they need to make sure a consensus is made on contribution before they send in their answers. So in this case, they each have their own individual devices. And what this means is that we can have a group response with multiple answers sent in, but making sure that all the answers are different because they need to agree on what they're each going to send in before they do. They would also be told that they need to be prepared to justify their answers. So if it's a group decision, it doesn't matter what they sent in. They need to be able to talk about that and justify that. Okay. The other way we could do it, though, is we could also have a group with one device. So the devices don't always have to be used one for each learner. They also work very well for collaborative work where groups of learners need to discuss and agree on an answer, idea, a statement, or an argument before sending the answer to the board using one shared device. I don't even have to re-register the devices in the middle of the lesson to do this. Opening up my voting browser again, I can go back into named mode for the minute, and I could take out several of those devices in the middle of the lesson just by clicking on them. So this means that the next time the vote question happens, next time I start the question, only the 3 devices will be used. To bring them back in, I can just reselect them and bring them back into that question set. Now we understand that it takes time to learn how the devices work and begin to create your own LRS pages. But we also know that time is what most teachers would say that they don't have. Promethean have thought of this as well. Active Inspire comes built in the resource browser here. I'll just talk that to the page. Comes built in with resources to help get you started. You can see that here. Within Active Inspire, there are question layouts under templates and also under lesson building. You've got buttons, question buttons. You've got question layouts, question spaces, tables and scales. There are activity templates for learner response, and there are also template pages like the one before where you can add in your own information. We also have Promethean Planet, which has a good variety of resources available to support you with learning and to use the LRS devices. So we've got teacher-created flip charts and resource packs. So these are teachers like yourselves in the classroom who are creating this content to use with their own classes and sharing with the rest of the community, the Promethean community. So they're a great idea on what you can do with the devices. We also have the LRS forum, and there's some great conversations going on currently with the Ron Clark Academy surrounding this, as well as in the blog. There was a fantastic latest blog on how Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta are making use of the LRS devices very creatively within their school. Featured Teacher allows you to actually view a teacher using these devices within their lesson on a flip chart. So they do a recording of the lesson. The flip chart is also available there that you can download and use yourself. We have a free online learner response course, so that's a really good place to start. And we also have a dedicated area for classroom and assessment, which you can find under the resources tab. As I've already mentioned, once the devices have been used on a flip chart, saving it will mean that you can return to the results at any time. This is so valuable in many ways. It means that the teacher can review the data collected after the lesson has happened. And as I said, teachers and learners could then use that information to look at next steps in learning, ensuring progression across the curriculum. Results can also be exported to an Excel spreadsheet. To do this, we just need to go into the voting browser, and then down here where the results browser is at the bottom, you notice an export option. So I can click on that. It's then going to ask me to save that, so I can just put in a title and click save, and then it's going to convert that data and open up an Excel spreadsheet for me. So the data on the spreadsheet is collated into different pages. And we'll just open that up so we can see it. The first page shows the overall results for all of the answers of the pupils. The next page is set out by question. Here we go. So we can see individual questions and all of the students and the response that they gave. The next one shows me individual students and all of the answers that they gave, so I can quickly look across and assess where my individual learners are. So we can see this is Andrea, and this is all of the answers that she gave to the 4 questions. And then the last one also gives me a summary of the questions on my page. Now the information will only appear if it was preset, so you can see this one down here wasn't a preset question, it was just ad hoc, so just using the express poll option. And it doesn't view it there, but it would still give me, save the answers that my class gave me. Sorry, lost my page there for a second. So we know that formative assessment is a key element of assessment for learning because its purpose is to promote the learning and not to measure it, not just to measure it. Self-paced questioning allows pupils to work on a group of questions at their own pace. The assessment results window informs the teacher and student the moment that an error is made, which means intervention can be made there and then if needed. It allows for differentiation so that all students get appropriate degrees of challenge. Now, planning this session, I really wanted you to see what a self-paced question set looked like in action. So therefore, Sam and I decided that logistically the best way to do this would be through another quick video. And we'll just start that video here. Okay. Now, once we get started, you will be able to see that in this particular lesson, 4 learners are involved. 3 of them are using Active Engage, 1 on the computer, and that's what you'll see that shows up here, and 2 of them are using handheld devices. The other is using an active expression device. Oh, in fact, we only have 3, so I'm not sure where I got that 4th from. As you can see on the Active Engage window is showing up here. The colored lines of the results window tell which question each learner is on, and the length of the line signifies how long they've taken to answer. The question set has included levels, and these can be seen by the different color of bars. When an incorrect answer has been given, there is an X on the bar, and in this instance, the learner is able to try that question again. You can see another question 5 come up. Okay, so that gives you a little idea there. Now, self-paced questions are set up using the question manager, and in fact, you would use the question manager to preset any question to a flip chart page. So to get in there, all I need to go is insert questions to open that up. And it just takes a minute for that question manager to open up. So here you can see I've got multiple questions on the page because this is a self-paced question set. I've specified the question type, different levels are shown, and then we also have the options down here. When I type in a question, so we can pretend to type in a new question here. Let's take all that out actually and type in a new question. As soon as I've done that, I'm then able to come over here. I can select the type of question I want. I can put in my suggested answers, select how many answers are required, and I can also assign a correct answer if I want to. So there's quite a lot of stuff that I can do within here. Now, if you're interested in finding out more about self-paced questioning, for example, how to create, how to set up, and manage and interpret the results, then keep your eye out for our webinar schedule for the new school year. We're going to be holding a session specifically on self-paced and questions for learning. But in the meantime, if you want to get started with that, the free online learner response course on Promethean Planet will talk you through how to set up a self-paced question set to get you started. LRS is a great learning tool, and I hope that I've begun to give you a better idea on how it supports assessment for learning. The uses of these devices are really limitless, and teachers in the classroom are finding more and more creative ways to make use of them. Now, I'm just going to finish off the webinar just by taking you through some next steps. So again, all of the things that we showed you today and where you can go to learn them. So I hope that you found today's webinar to be helpful, and I'd like to remind you that you can review the skills used in the examples you saw today by revisiting your Introduction to Active Inspire course, so that will help you with setting up and designing pages, as well as the Introduction to Learner Response Systems. Both courses are free of charge and are certificated. The Introduction to the Learner Response Systems will take you through the express poll, each type of question, how to set them up, and it also includes support on creating self-paced questions. Additional support is also available through Active Tips and the forum, both of which can be accessed through Promethean Planet. There are also several how-to flip charts available to download free of charge from the general resources on Promethean. Use the keyword search for LRS or self-paced. As these are written by teachers, I'm sure that you will find them useful. Also under the Professional Development tab on Promethean Planet, you'll find Active Tips. Again, Active Tips are short video tutorials on how to complete a variety of functions by using the Again, once you're there, by using the keyword search LRS, you'll be able to find a video on the overview of the devices and how they can be used. It is possible for you to watch the Active Tip video on Promethean Planet, or you can download it to your MP3 by subscribing to our podcast. After you watch the Active Tip video, be sure to download the associated flip chart so that you can practice your newly acquired skills. As you can see, we only have one more session left for this academic year, but we will be publishing another list of titles in the new term, so please watch this space for the next list of webinar titles. As always, we're going to be advertising through the forums on Promethean Planet and Twitter, as well as the new professional development area, which is beginning to emerge on Promethean Planet. Each session will have registration options. We hope that you've enjoyed these sessions and will help us to advertise them through word of mouth. Please tell your colleagues and friends about them in order to spread the word. Just to finish off, if you have any feedback, questions, or suggestions, please contact us using the following details. Both Sam and I are on Twitter, and we would love some new followers, so we've added our Twitter handle on there. Thanks again for taking the time to watch our latest webinar.